colleague over at The Intercept, Ken Klibenstein, flagged this panel on retirement. And the World Economic Forum, what's their headline? We desperately need to disrupt our approach to retirement saving. And I don't think that they understand how frightened people get when the global elites start talking about disrupting your retirement.
Yeah.
They still have this attitude that they're going to do good for a great number of people, and that they're going to say that and that we're going to believe it, rather than that we're going to say, oh, so now you want to steal our retirement. Like you see a profitable way to kind of siphon a little bit more blood out of this stone. Now, of course, they're not wrong that in general there's a retirement crisis, that people need more security, but their solutions that they talk about here are, get banks to make more financial products, for working class people, which is going to translate into banks just hitting working class people with fees throughout their whole life.
And this is why Davos, I think, has increasingly used the word credibility earlier. Like, it's increasingly lost credibility because the same people who got us into the Great Recession are the same people who are trying to now get us out of this, the growing pains of populism, or the cultural pains, the economic pains of populism. And you can see under the surface at things like Davos exactly where their motivations are for something like that. And another, let's actually roll this video because it is pretty interesting. If we roll A4, it ties into all of this when it comes to Social Security.
This is Congressman who? I forget, some Republican.
It's some Republican.
House Republican, play it.
Yeah, here's the video.
What reason the age of retirement?
That's interesting that you asked that question. People come up to me, they actually want to work longer. Yeah.
So that's on the table, you're saying?
Well, if people want to work longer, maybe you need to give them an incentive to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way to solve every one of these problems, by the way.
I know.
And actually grow wealth at the same time.
Okay, literally nobody is saying that to him. That was Rick Allen. He's from Georgia.
What's the chance he owns a car dealership?
Yes, if you're listening and not watching, I think Ryan just picked up on something aesthetically. That makes a lot of sense. Nobody is coming out to him and saying that. And you know what's interesting is that actually at the same time Republicans are making this message, nobody wants to work anymore. He's saying people want to work more. Now, I agree that people want to work generally. I think the right overplays this idea that nobody wants to work. But you can't have both of those things at the same time. And I think I would be shocked if more than just a couple people who were in different sets of circumstances, maybe they retired and then the market tanked because of the pandemic, which I know happened to a lot of people. But I would be surprised if any folks were genuinely coming to him and saying, let me work until I'm 68. Let me work until I'm 70. Why not?
I did Google, and there is a Rick Allen who's the owner of a GDA vehicle fleet sales in Atlanta, Georgia.
If you're right about that.
I think it's a different Rick
I was going to say.
There are a bunch of members of Congress who have owned car dealerships and still own car dealerships. But, of course, yes, like work often does provide meaning to people, and if people want to continue working longer into their life, of course, I don't think there's anybody who would really support a mandatory retirement except for pilots or other professions where you're like, okay, maybe it's time you do something else. You can keep working, just maybe don't fly the planes anymore. But I love how he goes from what you pointed out rightly is an obvious lie, that people are coming up to him and saying, Congressman, I would just wish that I could work more. Is there something that Washington can do about that?
To force me to.
Force me to work longer into my life.
I don't want to do it of my own volition. What I want is you to...
I want to be incentivized. Then he goes in and he says, you're going to use our head and we're going to incentivize people to work longer. But what he means by incentivizing somebody to work longer is basically raising the retirement age of Social Security and otherwise making people more economically insecure deeper into their life, because then they're incentivized to go out and get more money.
And this is what the Davos blog post that Ken picked up on is talking about. They're saying people are living longer, thus we need to create a pathway for people to work longer, as opposed to, let me just try something out on everyone. Maybe the benefit of living longer is having more time as you're older to make decisions about leisure. to actually, like, that's the point of the industrial system. You can, debate all of these different things about industrialization, but one very clear point of the reforms that have happened is that you earn a retirement.
Right.
That is a huge part of our system that we have agreed as a society is a worthwhile ambition for people, that they bust their butts for 40 plus years, for decades, provide for themselves, provide for their families, provide for their communities, and then they retire as their body gets older, as their mind gets older, and they can enjoy life. So perhaps instead of saying the opposite, right? Instead of saying, we're going to make you work, now that you're living longer, we have to find a way for you to work longer. Maybe what we should think is, now that you're living longer, we have to find a way to make your decades of work sustain you into the future.
And so to bring this back into the news cycle, you've got House Republicans, not just Rick Allen at the back bench there, but you've got some leading House Republicans who've consistently floated the idea that cuts to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, ought to be part of some type of reckoning with the deficit and the debt, around the debt ceiling. That you had McCarthy say, I think, during the election, like, that's something we're going to look at.
Yep.
And you had a lot of, like, Rachel Bovard and others were like, what are you doing? Like, we're done with this.
Shut the hell up.
Stop. Don't do this. Don't talk about it. Like, this is not a winner for you. People don't want and there's also so much more precarity than there was in people's lives even 20 years ago. Like, it's getting to a place, and also people are older.
Yeah.
Like, the Republican base is older. The American public is older. Like, we're an aging society. And so the idea that you're going to go after people's retirement in this way, the way that Bush tried to do in 2005 after his election, strikes me as a political blunder. But the Trump's tax cut was a giant political blunder, but they did it anyway because it was what they wanted. So what's your sense on how serious they are about really pushing forward on this in the context of a debt ceiling crisis?
I think this is really the thing to watch on the right now, because they're in this transition period and kind of developing a new prioritization, a new set of priorities. They sort of understand, at least people who are involved in the conversation about where the party should go, understand that the Paul Ryanism, like you were saying, in the latter half of the Bush administration was a political blunder, that the tax cut bill is a political blunder, that is basically a point of consensus in the conservative movement right now, that the tax cut bill was completely misprioritized, that, like, maybe that's fine, like it actually did.
Billionaires are good with it, though.
Millionaires are good with it.
Yeah.
Corporate tax cut, like, you can make an argument that it creates jobs, et cetera, but we're in a state of cultural crisis, and if all you can talk about is cutting corporate taxes and just sort of remember Paul Ryan said he was going to do this very populist thing, which would be to get the tax code down to a postcard. You'd be able to file your taxes on a postcard. It didn't come anywhere close to that, because as soon as you try to do that, lobbyists latch onto it, and if you're Paul Ryan, you don't have the power to resist that or the will to resist that. So what's happening is this question of priorities, and this narrative that is congealing on the right is that these spending cuts, when you're talking about sequestration, when you're talking about negotiating tough with the debt ceiling, which is imminent, that's on the table, that's going to start happening, like, now, it is happening. What are you going to say? The Biden administration is saying, we're not negotiating, period. Republicans are saying, well, how do we sell this? Because we are going to negotiate, because there are serious arguments about spending. There, like you said, aging population, totally outpacing the growth of the economy in terms of Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. And one of the big questions is this about tyranny? And that's the word that keeps coming, statism, tyranny, that the gas stove argument, right? Jim Jordan tweeted last week, God, gun, guns, and gas stoves. And that's the argument that they're starting to land on, that a bigger government means more Davos control in your life, basically. That is not Medicaid. That is not Medicare. That is not Social Security. So if your priority is cutting down big government tyranny, or is it the debt, right? Which one is it? Because if it's big government tyranny, you're not going to want to start with that.
There's also just such an extraordinary amount of blasphemy, though, in that whole God, guns, and gas stoves, right? I mean, God and then guns, like, okay, we're love, we're all one people, and guns. Then you're going to slap that next to it. Okay, but that's fine. You've been doing that for long. And then gas stoves. Doesn't that so radically diminish the, like, you're talking about the infinite, the greatest, like, force on the planet, in
You're
the
talking about
galaxy,
gas
the universe.
stoves, yeah.
No, God.
Gas
And then
stoves,
you're-
yeah.
I mean, gas stoves. But putting those on the same plane, the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, being like guns, gas, like come on.
Well, but that's what they're trying to do. This argument is that it's all part of the same thing. It's all part of the, and Jim Jordan didn't say this, but it's all part of the Davos agenda.
Jim Jordan on an acid trip, talking about, yeah. All right, so, and by the way, we have an update. Rick Allen would have been my second guess. He owned a construction company.
Oh, okay, that's close.
I was close.
We've got one more thing to show you guys.
Yes.
So this is a good one.
And here's Davos in a nutshell. Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin surrounded by billionaires. Let's roll that.
Difference for the American people in the last 2 years.
We still don't agree on getting rid of the filibuster.
That's correct.
Thank you.
They high-fived. If you're listening, what you missed
You need
is
to play that one back.
Manchin jumping in and saying we still don't agree on getting rid of the filibuster, and then they just come together for a beautiful moment.
Yeah, nice little high five there. Former Democrat Kirsten Sinema.
Yes, I forgot about that. There's just the news cycle moves so quickly.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.